From the dial-up modem of mayhem comes the virtual reality mind melt that is 1992's Lawnmower Man. The story of a simple-minded man who gets an unorthodox upgrade in the form of a cerebral expansion tour through the new world of virtual reality. And drugs. How many belt whips does it take to get to the center of a god complex? Can a chimpanzee hold his temper and a gun at the same time? Is LED-piped wetsuits the future of fashion? And how many scientists does it take to make the next Messiah? I hope you guys brought your landlines and modems, have your lawnmowers gassed up, and make sure you've paid your internet bill, because we're about to Chuddle the Lawnmower Man.
Not the Chuddle.
Chuddle. Surprise.
Whoa.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So good. If what the actual fuck was a movie, out of the mist and into the fog, it's Chuddle the Pod.
That's right. Hello and welcome, Chuddle Club folk. We are Chuddle the Pod. You got me, Chuddle the Sam. You got Bryan.
Huh?
Say hi.
Huh. That's my trademark, remember?
Yeah, I do.
True. Yeah, that's good.
Very good. And Ross, Chuddle the Ross. Say hi, Ross.
Oh, hey.
Oh, hey. Sup. And that just about rounds out our branded greetings. Tonight we are here to talk about the Lawnmower Man. This is a patron pick. Shout out to our Coven of Witches. We love you so much and appreciate your appreciation. Love chatting with you and just hanging out. So you suggested movies. We picked The Lawnmower Man. Well, I think Ross and I kind of were into it. Brian was like, I don't know. I don't know about
this one.
It's okay. I'm fine. I'm glad I got coerced into this.
Oh, good. Great.
And we went so deep into this one. We went full director's cut.
That's right.
Yeah,
so
that should
Bryan
be
and
said.
I both watched the theatrical
Yes.
version and then also watched the director's cut.
Planning to. I was thinking coming
both
in.
are on Tubi right now.
Yeah.
As of this recording. So if you want to watch either of them, go over to Tubi for that. It's free.
And I did not know that it was on Tubi, so I only watched the director's cut 1.5 times.
Yeah, I thought I was being all like fun. I'm gonna watch the director's cut too. Gonna be able to come in and be like, well, this is what they did different. But no, we're gonna be speaking probably more to like this is the director's cut and this is what theatrical cut did different. So I would suggest
difference in the theatrical cut, right? Because there's a lot.
I suggest
there's
watch
like
both.
40 more minutes in the director's cut.
I honestly, it paints.
Cut.
There's different. We'll get into it.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Very different feeling about everything. So if this is your first time listening to the show, at the very beginning, we do sort of a spoiler-free trailer for you, give you a little bit to know about the movie without saying too much to see whether or not you might want to watch it. I already shouted out our Coven earlier because this was their pick. And then if you like what you hear, follow us, rate, review, tell your friends. That would be great. Now, the one-line plot from IMDb for this movie is a simple man is turned into a genius through the application of computer science, which is a good one-line description.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
partially
accurate.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, partially true for sure. Simple man. Movies are made by people, and the people that made The Lawnmower Man are the director is Brett Leonard, who apparently he did Virtuosity, which is a movie I forgot about, which is another like 90s computer technology type of thing. And I just wanted to bring it up because I did not realize Russell Crowe was in it, but the cover of Virtuosity, like the tagline for the movie, really amuses me. It is, hell hath no fury like a computer composite of 183 serial killers.
Oh,
Meet Sid at 6.7. I can't even say it without laughing. Hell hath no fury like a computer composite of 183 serial killers.
Oh my god. I like the fact that he did 2 films about how the internet is scary. Like I really, really enjoy that. And then monster, like Frankenstein's of the internet.
Yeah, that's technology bad. one of those for sure.
Well, we'll get into it.
Yeah, we'll get into it. Writers on IMDb, Brett Leonard, Gimel Everett, and Stephen King, but we'll touch on that a little bit more when we go to behind the scenes. Actors in this film are Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Lawrence Angelo. Shout out to James Bond and GoldenEye. Jeff Fahey or Fahey? I feel like I've heard people say Fahey, but it looks like Fahey.
It's very
Smith.
Strong. Fahey. You want to put emphasis on it? I have no idea, to be honest. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, Jeff. Fahey. Jenny Wright as Marnie Burke, Mark Bringleson as Sebastian Timms, Jeffrey Lewis as Terry McKean, Jeremy Slate as Father McKean, John Laughlin as Jake Simpson, and Austin O'Brien as Peter. At this point, we're going to let you know how much goo to expect with our Gorometer.
It's time for the Gorometer.
Fatality.
Gorometer, scale of 1 to 10. Psycho to the sadness, being a little bloody or a lot of bloody. How gory is this joint?
So we're talking director's cut.
We're talking director's cut.
Still, maybe like a 2.
0?
I was going to say 3.
I can't
maybe
think of
a 3.
anything.
I think if we add
I guess we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's a 3 for goo and violence, and then I feel like it's a 5 for 8-bit violence. There's a lot of 8-bit violence.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, otherwise it's real tame. So we
2.
can talk a little bit more when we get to like genre or anything like that. But this is one of those movies I feel like that skirts the line of, is this a horror movie?
Yes.
But
yeah, like it drifts into the horror lane.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I don't know. I thought about that watching it 1.5 times where I was like, is this a horror movie?
Sure.
Is this a horror movie? We'll get into it later. But in the context for the gore, it's like, it's there, but it's not there.
Like, I feel like it had potential for some of the way that there's kills in this movie and everything. If for some of the way that those kills happen, it could have definitely been a lot gorier. And I was almost hoping I was going to see that in the director's cut. But you really don't get much gore.
No,
there's
a little
additional death.
different.
There's more deaths in the director's cut.
But still the same style.
Yeah, but still, I'd keep it around a 2 or 3. I think, at most a 3.
Yeah, because visually, it's not that crazy to look at. I think conceptually, some of the things are kind of horrifying, but how they're presented in the film are very tame. Very, very tame.
Yeah. There's only one thing I can think of, and it puts it at a 2.
Sure. Cool.
Great. Who is the horror for? What are the subgenres?
Mm-hmm. Science fiction. At this point,
sci-fi,
nostalgia.
Technology bad.
If you really want to see what people are thinking technology's like in the 90s, or what it's going to be pushing the boundaries in a 90s mindset.
If you want like a heavy origins of CGI, like if you wanted to like see some of the first computer animated, like the Lawnmower Man is definitely way up there on the list of just like future bending at the time kind of setups.
Right. I think it's interesting that we'll get into that later. That's a little spoilery. So yeah, I don't think there's much more to say on it. Just
I mean, it's sci-fi, heavy sci-fi. I mean, internet, computery.
Yeah.
I like to say kind of earthbound sci-fi. It's not, you got your like space stories. This one, the Earth stories.
Grounded.
Yes. It's actually that's a great way of putting it.
Street level.
Street sci-fi. This is sci-fi for the streets.
Exactly. Is it a good hang movie? Is it a schlock fest, or is it serious?
I think it could be a good hang for sure.
I think it's yes, I think hang is the way to watch it. I think no doubt.
Yeah.
It could be I think it could be pretty fun that way.
Well, yeah, I think there's some stuff there.
And is it for beginners?
I'd say
it's just kind of weird.
Yeah.
It can be. Like I think it's tame. It's tame enough that I think it's a great entry level movie, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's a great entry level horror movie.
I agree, because I think it's like it was already touched on. if you're like, I'm into horror, this isn't horror-y enough to recommend as a beginner horror movie.
No.
I would say that this is a sci-fi movie with garnishes of horror.
Yeah.
Sprinkled throughout the entire thing. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think if you're a sci-fi head, you might, that would be a good this would be a fun introductory one, especially like you said, like earthbound science fiction.
And I can see how there'd be scary moments. It's just, there's not much dread in this movie.
Yeah, it doesn't feel that way. I mean, you could look at it in the sense of Job turning to a sense, or, our character becoming some sort of killer I was trying to look at it as like, is he a slasher at this point of like going through and like trying to kill anybody? But that was just trying to bring it into the realm of like, how could you put this on the fringe of horror or something like that. But yeah, heavy sci-fi. I mean, we're gonna probably keep repeating this, but it just oozes. There you go. There's where we're gonna get our goo for tonight, is the oozing of the sci-fi from it.
Dope. What words of warning does the Chuddle Harbinger of Doom offer for this movie?
All right, little Chuddle Mothman's flying in and like warning us here, giving us feelings of.
I don't mean to bother you guys, but there's a lot of lights. There's a lot of flashing lights in this film.
Oh yeah, flashing
huge
lights.
Photosensitivity one on this one.
Yes, massive amounts throughout the entire movie, and just does not stop.
Domestic
one of the
violence.
actresses had issues. Domestic violence, child abuse, animal abuse, animal death for the theatrical version. Or not the theatrical version, the director's cut.
Yes. Gosh. I mean, both, but in different ways.
Yeah.
There's a lot of these things, but again, I want to say these things happen. I'd say one of the most the harder of them is the domestic violence, because you just see like some straight up slapping. And it's like,
yeah, they're kids getting hit.
Yeah, like the animal death is, that's tough too. But it's not like compared to like our horror movies where it's like this like huge emphasis on these the death or anything or the gore like that and stuff. So it's not as tough.
No, the deaths we do get are that there's a big emphasis on the death are decidedly ungory.
Yeah.
Yes, very. I think that actually, you guys make a really good point. Maybe I think the domestic violence stuff in this film really glares out because of the lack of like actual gore and goo in this film. Like, I think we've seen other ones, maybe not to this level of domestic abuse, but like we've seen other films in our podcast history that knock on that door, but we glaze over it just because of the amount of blood and guts that are in a certain, where it's like, God, that was terrible, but this is also really, really bad. There's no really, really bad when it comes to like gore and death in this. So it makes all of these, I'm like, oh wow, that's really off-putting. They don't.
No, I mean, I can see the point there, especially with, horror movies, and like the action and the death in this feels like it leans a little bit more towards like an action movie ish type of deaths and kills and stuff like that. So it's all of that feels, the weight of it doesn't feel as dreadful as Sam mentioned before, the dread you feel from like a horror movie.
I do have to say though, I think like it's weird, as much as the visuals on this aren't as crazy, I think some of the concepts are super creepy.
I think the visuals are actually we'll get there. That's our words for tonight. We'll get there and we're going to get into it tonight, but I will say the visuals I think I liked them this time.
Okay, well, that covers the words of warning from the Harbinger of Doom, right? Anything else from the Mothman?
Nope.
Who picked it? Why in the history? Patreon picked it. Ross and I leaned towards it. I had watched it once and thought it fucking sucked, and I hadn't seen it since. And that's about all the history I have with it. What about you guys?
I think I saw it when like it not when it first came out, but very close to. Like there was definitely a VHS copy of this that I watched. I don't necessarily think that I've seen it more than like 3 times in my entire life.
And that's low for Ross.
That's very low in my standards. Yeah, no, I think when it got brought on the list, it was one of the first ones on the Patreon list. I was like, oh, I haven't seen that in a minute. I would love to rewatch that again because I haven't seen that in like, God, close to a decade.
I mean, I think I'm in the same boat as like, I remember seeing it when I was younger, and this is like terrible, schlocky, bad. It just looked like crap. This was dumb and everything. And then I remember at one point, I forget where my mom went. She went somewhere and she was like, I was going to bring you back a souvenir, but they didn't have anything. So I was at Walmart and I got you Lawnmower Man because it was like something on sale. Just was like, whatever, here you go. And so then I kind of was like, well, I feel like I have to like this movie or something, but it's a special little gift. But I always remember not wanting to watch it and to reaffirm how bad it was or anything. But that's, and I don't think I have touched it in a very long time.
Right. So actually, I guess I do have a little more history to it. I remember somehow wanting to see this when it came out, even though I would have been like 6 when it came out in theaters. Because at Blockbuster, I remember wanting to rent it and going to rent it. And the guy basically kind of like looking at me and looking at my mom and being like, asking if it was for me or something, and saying that like not to let me rent this movie. So for a long time in my head, I thought it was like absolutely crazy. And then I didn't see it until I was like, I don't know, 27. So that's when I first saw it and thought it sucked.
Sure.
And I had it built up in my head from as a child. But also now when I look and see that I was probably a 6 or 7 year old going to rent this, like it's not the craziest movie in the world, but it is kind of like a weird movie for a 6 or 7 year old.
Well, if it was at Blockbuster, well, still, you would have been like 8 or 9. At the
oldest. Well, no, I'm saying like because it came out in 92.
Well, if I was out in 92, that's when you were about 6 or 7, right?
Yeah, I would have been.
So by the time
6.
it got to Blockbuster,
right, I would have been 7. It depends on when it came out, but whatever.
Movies took a lot longer. Movies didn't release like 3 weeks after they were out in theaters.
Right.
Right. I do remember revisiting this. I think it was like teenage years. And you're going to probably bring this up, but the whole Stephen King behind the scenes thing I had heard about. And then because I was such a Stephen King head, knew the story, and then was like, oh, I didn't know. And then went into rewatching it again. And like, I think that was my biggest, like, not a child watching this movie again.
Mm-hmm. Well, with all that fun stuff said, we're going to go ahead and get into the spoilers. So if you don't want to hear them or you want to go see the movie first, pause now and come back to us. If you don't care if you've seen it before, better buckle up, baby, because we're about to get into that 666 crucible of questions. Saddle up and ride.
Spoiler zone.
Okay, we are starting off with a new feature, the Chat GTP.
It's pronounced GIP.
Oh, excuse me. 30-second recap.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is what I got. We'll correct it as needed.
Put it on the clock.
The Lawnmower Man is a sci-fi thriller released in 1992. So far, so good.
All right.
The story revolves around Dr. Lawrence Angelo, a brilliant scientist specializing in intelligence enhancement research. Driven by his ambition to increase human intelligence, he develops a groundbreaking experiment utilizing a combination of virtual reality simulations and experimental drugs.
Okay.
So far, great job.
Pretty good.
Enter Job Smith, a mentally challenged man with a childlike innocence. Seeking a part-time job, Job becomes Dr. Angelo's lab assistant and unwittingly becomes the subject of his experimental project. Think we can pause right there?
Yeah, it's a little more predatory than that. He wasn't seeking the second job.
Dr. Angelo was seeking a part-time job and then became his lab assistant at all. He was like, you want to come play some cool video games?
Yeah.
What if I could make you smarter? Would you like that?
I'm gonna
you would, wouldn't you? Let's do it.
Wouldn't you? Let's do it.
So that's kind of how that comes about in the movie.
Don't worry about the chimpanzee.
Dr. Angelo introduces, so what's funny, Ross, is that chimpanzee is like not in the theatrical version. We'll get to it.
Yeah. Hey. We'll get to it.
Dr. Angelo introduces...
We're going to get to that.
Dr. Angelo introduces Job to a series of virtual reality simulations known as The Shop, designed to expand his cognitive capabilities, which is pretty accurate. The Shop is more like the mysterious cabal funding it, but he does expose him to virtual reality to expand his abilities. As Job immerses himself in the virtual world, his intelligence begins to skyrocket. He rapidly acquires knowledge, learns multiple languages, and exhibits exceptional problem-solving skills. Simultaneously, Dr. Angelo administers a drug called Job's Formula to enhance Job's mental capabilities further.
Did he? I don't remember it ever having a name, but sure.
I don't think that happened.
At one point, Tim switches out the formula.
Yeah, for
to like
for
put
the
back
original
the one they used on
formula.
the chimp.
Was it? Is it like Protocol 5 or something 5?
Well, it's Project 5 is what they're working on. Is the whole project,
and that's and then the aggression, whatever.
Right, the thing that made the monkey go bad. They sneak back in to Job. However, as Job's intelligence flourishes, his emotional stability begins to deteriorate. The newfound power corrupts him, leading to a significant change in personality. Job starts exhibiting telekinetic and telepathic abilities, allowing him to control and manipulate objects with his mind. Unaware of the dangers, Dr. Angelo realizes his experiment has gone awry and tries to terminate the project. Meanwhile, Job, now consumed by megalomania, seeks revenge on those who had mistreated him in the past. Using his powers, he exacts vengeance on his abusive father, a local priest, and others who crossed his path. So
I think maybe just like the father, as in
I think there's a little bit of
well, and
misunderstanding.
It's Peter's abusive father who's the neighbor. Right. He does kill with a mine lawnmower thing, and then the priest he kills, and others who cross his path. Jake is the other one, but kind of it's fun. Dr. Angelo teams up with another scientist, Dr. Benjamin Trace, to stop Job. I'm just going to stop right there. I Googled that does not happen. I Googled Dr. Benjamin Trace, and that is the doctor from the second Lawnmower Man movie.
They're pulling in sequels?
Yeah.
Okay.
They attempt to shut down.
Hold on. Wait a second.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought about this. Did Job write this?
Could be. It's an appropriate movie to have AI write it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the movie, but technology bad. They attempt to shut down the virtual reality system, hoping it will incapacitate Job and restore his mental state to its original condition. However, Job's abilities have evolved to a point where he can transcend the virtual world and manifest his powers in reality, which is true.
Yeah,
he's got that big glowy face and the fucking bugs.
Oh, the big face. Swarm of bees.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
Hey, what are we going to do?
We're gonna get to that. Don't worry. We're gonna get to that.
We'll make that shirt too. We'll get to it.
What if we don't ever get to it this episode? We just keep
saying
it.
Oh my god. Just keeps on going.
Hey, thanks for tuning in, everyone. We're done for tonight.
In the climactic confrontation, Dr. Angelo confronts Job, trying to reason with him and convince him to relinquish his newfound powers. The final battle between the two ensues, with Job's powers and intellect pitted against Dr. Angelo's determination. Ultimately, Dr. Angelo manages to destroy the virtual reality equipment, causing Job's powers to dissipate. Job reverts to his mentally disabled state, losing his incredible intelligence and abilities. The movie concludes with Dr. Angelo contemplating with the ethical implications of his experiment and the potential consequences of tampering with human intelligence.
It's a completely different ending.
Much happier ending.
Completely different fucking ending.
Well, for whose perspective?
Oh,
that's true. Yeah, it's also like he didn't really lose his powers. He kind of like had a blinking moment of like, I don't want to kill a kid, so that he's like, get out of here, and then he still went back to like,
and couldn't go back to his body, and the computer got blown up.
Yeah, when he got sucked into the machine, like
like he turned into a California raisin.
He's not just back to what he used to be.
Yeah, no, his body does not.
Well, he's now pure
anymore.
Energy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now he's listening to us now. Hey, Job.
Mm-hmm. He's everywhere.
All our devices. Don't you know? That's why all the phones ring. We'll get to it.
Can we get to it?
This is next bit is the IMDb behind the scenes. This is chosen trivia bits from IMDb. New Line Cinema had obtained the rights to the Stephen King short story The Lawnmower Man, and the producers had an unrelated script called Cyber God. For economical reasons, they simply placed King's title on the production of Cyber God, and early promotional material with that claim went public. King was furious at this abuse of his name, and he sued the studio to have his name and title removed from the film and promotion. The studio refused, but was eventually ordered to pay $10,000 and full profits to King. So
what an insane thing to do. You know what I mean? Because I mean, like the original, the short story Lawnmower Man is basically like a satyr cutting a dude's grass. Like it has nothing to do with computers. Nothing. Like literally, it's just like dudes cutting grass. I would be infuriated. Could you imagine having a sci-fi movie brought to you by Stephen King? Master.
Yeah, I mean that's like probably something that happens in Hollywood, the movie industry a lot. Is like, yeah, you get the rights to a name and you just slap it on a different script that's already been kind of produced.
Yeah, so that works with.
Yeah.
Rework some scenes, call this guy the Lawnmower Man.
Bang. Right. Fix this in here, move this in here. Well, yeah, bang, like you said.
I'm curious on what they mean by full profits. As in,
Me too.
Did he sue?
I meant to
did
Google
he sue
it,
enough to
here we are.
earn all of the money from this movie?
There's no way that's possible. I think it's probably, my guess is full profits as to what it would have been. I don't know, something, but there's no way that he got all the money. That's just, but this movie did make $38 million. I looked it up. It did very well. The 8 minutes of computer generated effects took 7 people 8 months to complete on a budget of $500,000, which was a lot more in 92 than it is today.
Sure.
Only 7 people,
That's
though.
Wild.
Mm-hmm. It was discovered through.
I was gonna say. I mean, for at the time, I mean, those effects were insane.
Yeah.
Like.
Totally.
What they were able to pull off.
And I think it's funny too, at the time we thought like when we're going to go in virtual reality, we're going to want to live in this like crazy world rather than like what people a lot of times are trying to make it as realistic as possible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not like some fucking screensaver from 92, but
it made me think of that kids show Reboot.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, fuck
the entire time that
reboot.
Like every time there's a CG scene, I was like, "Oh, I just hopped back into an episode of Reboot."
Reboot's better than this, to my memory. It was discovered through FBI tapes that this was former Waco cult leader David Koresh's favorite movie. So, out there, making a cult, watching Lawnmower Man, my guy. Not really. I don't know why I said that. He's not my guy.
Nope. No taking backsies.
Nope. I take you backsies. Several of the symbols Job sees flying around during his first VR treatment are demon evocation seals taken from the infamous Key of Solomon, which I don't know what that is, but it sounds cool.
It's a book of it's like an encyclopedia of different demons, and then like sigils to summon them and like what they need. Yeah, it is really funny though. I noticed that this time around, had no clue what they were as a kid or even as a teenager, but this time around I was like, are those from the Key of Solomon? That's such a weird thing to throw into like, I'm going to open your mind.
Mm-hmm. Well,
through Solomon.
You know what? We'll get into it.
Jenny Wright, the actress that played Marnie, did only the close-ups in the VR strobe scene because the strobe light made her sick. Her wide-angle shots were done using a double, and the close-ups of her face were done with a blue screen so that she didn't have to move.
Yeah.
So going back to that photosensitivity.
Yeah.
When Joe puts a CD into the car's player on his solo drive, the disc can be made out, but just barely. It's not the music in the scene. It's Celine Dion's first English album, Unison, from 1990. I like that that's what he chose to listen to. The moan-like eerie sound effect in the access granted scene where Job finds the back door is taken from the scene in Evil Dead. where the evil spirit rises. Cool.
That's pretty cool.
Oh.
Harold Parquet is the only character in the movie that was in the Stephen King short story that it was loosely based on. Job's hair was going to be red, but it looked dumb on Jeff Fahey, so it was blonde instead. A remote-controlled lawnmower was specifically built for the movie. And another movie adapted from a Stephen King story, Maximum Overdrive, a remote-controlled lawnmower chases a teenager. This was when he was in his remote-controlled lawnmower phase. Even though I guess that never happened in the Stephen King short story, only in this movie.
Right.
The scene where the cop says that the missing piece of the dead man is in the bird bath is the only thing in the movie that was in the short story. I guess there is that line.
Yeah.
Last thing, although the film has very few similarities with Stephen King's short story, the group The Shop is a reference to stuff throughout King's work, also known as the Department of Scientific Intelligence. They have been the main antagonists in events in Firestarter, Golden Years, the Tommy Knockers, also mentioned in the Langoliers and in The Stand. So Shop's been around, been getting it. They even got in Cyber God. I mean, the Lawnmower Man.
Yeah. Cyber God. Yeah.
Cyber
Lawn.
Cool guys. I'm a cyber cool guy. Don't worry about it. In the meantime, it is time to get into the first 6. Let's break it down, boys. Scenes, lines, interactions, characters, kills, gore, scares, shout outs. What are we doing? Where are we going? Who are we moving? Starting at the beginning.
Yeah, this movie. Well, I mean, I think that's the best place to move through these two movies.
We have
these two very different movies, the director's cut and the theatrical cut.
Totally.
Okay, so I thought it would have been funny if like one of us trying to explain the fact that like the differences. Anyway, okay, so all my notes pertain to I first watched the theatrical cut, so I'm like going through writing everything here. Then I had to go through writing a separate set of notes of like what slips in different here. My first note is
for the director's
what's that?
Sorry, I paused the director's cut and went back to the theatrical cut to like see if did I fucking just not pay attention for that long or something?
I was like, these scenes happen at drastically different times, and it would have been crazy to there's just a lot. So but first it does start off with Monkey strapped into VR is hilarious. That whole thing of like just like I don't know, some puppet monkey and their weird like gyroscope Tron suit, like just flipping around in that thing is that's a sight to behold. Exactly. Gorgeous. Love it. And then Monkey escapes, and then
Monkey is in his little VR where it's all that like smooth rebooty weird looking
he's to kill people.
This is chimpanzee RoboCop. Totally. He's RoboCop. He literally has a helmet with a visor, and then everything's in that game mode.
Yeah.
That he's like
essentially similar to that.
Playing,
he's in like the Weapon X program where it's like the still it's like
killer.
It's being trained.
Oh my god, he is. It's Weapon X for Planet of the Apes.
Fight and kill or whatever. He has all these targets popping up. So then we get him in what would be augmented reality at this point because it's
correct.
Yeah, just viewing, augmenting reality.
Views the real world like a game now. It's basically just like pixelated, but boxes will pop up with info and shit. Threat assessed or something.
There seems to be in the lower corner like an icon searching. So like when something matches up with like I don't know, like door, like a little icon will pop up, but there's always a little thing like running, like displaying like a shit ton of different icons till it finds the right one. And that was my thing with this movie. There's so much extra visual shit going on that's like fantastically out of touch with what like a computer would be doing.
Would do.
Yeah. Right. To make any of this work, which is what I found fun and almost endearing about like that
interesting,
which is almost like how 50s you look at like 50s sci-fi and the way they view the future. This is almost looking back at like 90s sci-fi and how they viewed the future, and I'm kind of like looking at it through that lens now, which is a little bit more fun. It's wild. It was a wild start, and then in the theatrical cut, Monkey dies.
Totally.
Yeah, Peter gets Dr. Angelo gets the call that he gets a phone call in both versions, but one is like the monkey died overnight, and the other one's like the monkey's escaped and we need to go find him.
So when that comes
all
on,
that shit with the monkey and Job that you saw, Ross, is not in the theatrical version.
Cybo Man,
right?
That's amazing. Now I never want to see the theatrical version ever again. It has to be seeing that chimpanzee running around in that helmet. I've never laughed so hard that early on.
When his little visor opens up and you see his eyes look at Joe.
I was just thinking and like, yeah, he got shot. He looks at the church and he says sanctuary.
Well, here's one of the points where I had to go back too, because I was like, I feel like I saw this shot of the church before, but I do not remember seeing like the augmented reality vision version of. I was like, what's happening? And then
LT around it. Dude, I would not be surprised if they took different shots and then just digitized over them.
It's stripped, so the theatrical version is just like you can notice when like certain parts are stripped. When the father, the priest, is running up to the shed, and then he hears the monkey, and there's a whole thing there. In the theatrical cut, it just cuts off right before he hears the monkey, because the monkey's dead at this point.
Yeah,
and there's like all this stuff, and like Job's first appearance.
Oh, the monkey's got a gun, by the way. Yeah. I don't know if we told the arguers.
Oh God,
he's got a revolver the entire time. He's locked and loaded. He's murdered with his bare hand. No, not with his bare. He stole the gun and then shot the guard. Shot the guard.
And that's where you get some digital blood, more or less. You can see a digital augmented reality kind of headshot thing.
Right.
And then, so the whole Cybo Man thing is like not in the theatrical thing.
Is a comic book that Job likes about a
loves
robot monkey with a gun. So he thinks this
I thought it was just a robot man
hero come to life.
Or it's a guy. No, it's just a robot guy.
Comic.
It's just a dude. It's not even it's not even a chimpanzee. It's just
Job
like a guy.
Introduced himself to Cybo Man and he's like, I'm the Lawnmower Man.
Yeah, we get
like right away, which is like, maybe kind of said in the theatrical cut at some point. But
I believe it's said once or twice, but much later in the movie.
Right.
In the theatrical cut.
We are going to get into it. We talked a little bit before we started recording. Okay, so there's this whole thing with Jenny and the Lawnmower Man that happens with their love, their sweet, sweet embrace. What I have an issue with is that because he's known as the Lawnmower Man, he mows everybody's yards in this town. And everyone knows that he's like not all like he has the mentality of a child.
So once he's completely different and a smart guy, you're supposed to treat him that way still? Because she didn't even recognize him anymore. No, she was like, "You're not the Lawnmower Man."
It's true,
but not the first. But not the first time they banged.
Yeah, the first time.
The first time they
absolutely.
Well, because they had the sandwich eating scene.
Yeah, that's hilarious. That's when she kind of first notices him out there, but he's all dirtied up with his pre-smart hair flying around everywhere.
Yeah, that's the best way to call it.
But unless I missed something, there wasn't any other dialogue before the "Hey, I made some drinks. Come on up."
She met him at the gas station.
She met him at the gas station.
The whole gas station scene happens before that.
With the tight jeans. I totally forgot about his cowboy tight jeans.
And she says she doesn't recognize him.
Yeah, and Jake.
Okay, that makes me feel better.
Guy
I think. I don't know.
Lube you up for free, and she's not paying him any attention now. Because Lawnmower Man has smartened his hair, coiffed it up, and bought a white button down to tuck into his sweet jeans.
Yeah, I thought Marnie, I don't know. There were certain vibes of Marnie I got there. I was like, God, you're just kind of taking advantage of this.
Well, I mean, her character was supposed to be blatantly, it's like a thrown off line of, she got a lot of money or something, and her husband died, and now she's just out banging everyone because why not?
Yeah, that's true.
That is exactly what it said.
You're gonna bang the yard man.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, Job's character, even from the first thing in the director's cut, is that everyone knows him as the Lawnmower Man because he cuts grass with his uncle, Terry.
Well,
right?
I don't know if it's. I don't know.
I thought that was just some people who took him in. I thought.
Right.
Like the church.
The church that took him in.
Oh,
because,
I guess it's just the brother Terry and the
priest. The priest
right.
and Terry are brothers, which I think. I don't know if I got that in the theatrical cut.
I didn't get that in the theatrical
Okay,
version.
so yeah, you get that in the
yeah.
director's cut.
That they're related.
That they're related. But yeah, so all of that, the monkey stuff, all gets cut away. And our introduction to Job in the theatrical cut is the part where he's like just experienced all that monkey shit, and it's like the next day and he's just like kind of like sitting in the shed, right?
Because the father told him, he's like, don't you ever talk about this again, like keep it a secret, pretend it never happened, so it's easy to like cut out because he doesn't talk about it.
And so
but that whole scene where he picks the belt, that whole thing is so messed up, where he just goes like, "You're
pick how you'll listen to God or whatever." Yeah, basically.
Yes, and he just slowly points at a belt on the wall, and then just gets fucking beaten mercilessly.
Yeah, do you know why he gets beaten in the theatrical cut? Because he didn't like spray down the bugs that are at the altar or something. It's it comes at a different scene, and it comes after that night, which. Watching the director's cut makes sense when you first meet Terry, who comes in and being like, oh, he had you doing like penance all night or whatever like that, which happens later. It's so weird, the theatrical cut, what it does to what I guess, the director's original vision was. It's such a different movie. Mind
bender.
And I think, if I'm going to be honest, I think I like the theatrical cut better.
Oh, I do not. I feel like all the stuff with the monkey in the beginning really explains a lot more later in the movie.
I haven't seen the theatrical. I'll revisit it, as in like for a year roundup. I'll make sure to watch the theatrical and I'll give my official stance on whether I think
what I'm actually thinking is that I would rather have it be somewhere in the middle of the two. I think the director's cut was too long and had too much crap and stuff that could have been trimmed, but I think I like the length and a little bit more of the kind of wildness, so the schockiness, the B-moviness of the theatrical cut, because you understand a lot less.
So you want the Cybo cut?
Something. I don't know what we're gonna sure.
The Cybo Man cut.
He wants the producer's cut. I can't remember the character's name, but in Tropic Thunder, Ben Stiller's character had gone full R-word in movies.
Yes.
Was that
Simple
character
Jack.
designed
It was Simple Jack.
Job? Because they look like...
They're
thought
very
that
similar.
A lot,
the
especially
overalls
when we have
and the
his
shirt.
Not smart hair and his overalls. Just something I picked. Or maybe there's just a certain Hollywood not smart hair. Like if you're not a smart guy, this is the haircut.
Just shaggy, unkempt overalls and a baggier shirt underneath.
Right.
Cyber sex. We want to.
Oh, you want to already get to that?
That was the more interesting.
You want to jump? You want to jump onto cyber sex? Cyber sex was weird.
Yeah.
So
at that point,
Job sneaks.
Job is.
What was her name? Jenny.
Yeah.
Sneaks her into the place where he's been getting smarter.
Marnie. Her real name is Jenny.
Okay, Marnie.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Marnie's.
By the like secret government facility, somehow sneaks her in there and hooks her up to the second Tron wetsuit gyro thing for VR.
Mm-hmm.
And she sees her hands and does the ooh, look at the hands thing.
Ooh,
and then they're like weird goopy metal things that kind of just fold into each other and grab each other. It make the weirdest moist sounds while it's happening. It's like
very sticky.
Yeah.
And then see if this was real goo, but then we get like digital goo because she gets stuck in that weird like it's so much digital goo. But it's not real good. You know what I mean?
Well, okay, so they meld into some sort of like dragonfly thing and like are flying around like that for a little bit. Then they separate and then she gets stuck in some goo. That's when she doesn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
She hates it.
And then he's like, I know what you want. And he becomes some weird monster thing and like spits at her or something.
Which is so weird. Really sure I like the fact that he read her mind and was like, you're into some kinky shit. You're going to fucking love this. And then turns into that thing which fries her brain.
Before this happens, they've already like started developing some sort of. They've had sex. They're developing a relationship. And he's hanging out all like, on the couch, all sexy like, and at this point he has developed the ability to read minds. So he reads her mind, and I know she says something like, "God, he smells so good," and then she says something else, which I forget what it was, but. He's like, that's when he's like, "You're into some weird stuff. Let me show you something cool." I was like, what the hell was it that weird that
he
she
got out of her brain that made her think that's what she'd want?
Yeah. She's so weird.
Like,
it's so hard to describe. This weird digital monster that shoots out some weird 90s primo. We got to emphasize this primo 90s digital computer. Animation,
like that sort of.
This is like 50s.
I don't know.
56K CGI. Like this is dial up.
Sharp lines, vectorized, grid like. Look at our blurple grid lines. Think that in VR form.
Yeah. Or the 3D Simpsons episode of Treehouse of Horror, like that level of CGI. Actually, I think worse CGI.
Yeah. That Simpsons looked much better in terms of. Well, it's different, but
it's very.
I wonder when that came out in terms of like time.
The whole thing is
obviously
this
after
is also
this,
very stylized. Like none of them, except for the end when Joe becomes like God level cyber god when he becomes cyber god,
cyber Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then they kind of make him humanish, at least when he's like falling back to Job and not the cyber god. The cyber god kind of has a humanish face, but that's the only time they even try and make him somewhat look normal. The other times, it's like almost like a mannequin, but like a metallic mannequin that's reflecting all these colors around them. Very 90s.
They all look like low res Silver Surfers.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Sexy low-res Silver Surfers.
Sexy low-res. Okay, now these things are clicking for me. Dude, when Job is in his shack looking at all of the male models in cowboy boots and jeans, where he's like, and he's prepping himself because
to be like sexy.
To be sexy for her. It's like so funny to me because like that's when the priest like breaks in. He's like, "What are you doing? You're indecent."
Right.
Well, I pay rent here, and I'm gonna start a ranch. It's like, whoa, what happened here?
Whoa, yeah.
And I believe that happens in theatrical, but there's a whole thing of Terry telling him that he needs to stand up to Father McKean and everything, which you don't get in the theatrical.
Correct.
So there's all these weird character progressions quicker in the theatrical.
I'm getting smarter, Dr. Angelo.
Yeah. The biggest thing about the director's cut is that at this point it just starts trying to add a lot more character development.
Yeah.
And just
there's
really
a lot
expanding
more
upon it.
character.
Yeah.
A lot more
It's
heart. If you
I will
will,
say,
I'm not sure.
Dr. Angelo in this fucking movie.
Yeah, one of my I love his whole basement VR setup where he has a bunch of different VR stations. First of all,
like
he has his floaty chair,
and
then
good.
Presumably the two chairs that are designed specifically for that flying through tunnels game.
Yeah. Which is awesome.
The one that once you're smart enough, you can win, I guess.
Yeah. Well,
it's like having a VR set with like Time Crisis in your basement for no reason that just has two players involved.
Well, we do get a good in this point when we get the introduction of Caroline, which is another drastic change to the theatrical cut, her character. But Pierce Brosnan's wife. In director's cut, clearly his wife. In the theatrical cut,
maybe his girlfriend.
His girlfriend, because she almost leaves after this point in the theatrical cut. She just is not in the rest of the movie.
Yep. And it seems like something I noticed in the director's because like, why are they together? She seems like she hates him.
They hate
like,
each other.
Whenever he'll be like, "Hey, I'm home," she's like, "Fuck you."
There's no establishment.
I guess
it's bizarre.
There's like minimal dialogue where apparently they lived in the city, but now they're moved out here for his research because he's being paid by this company or by the shop. She wants to stay in the city all the time, and then he just drinks copious amounts of whiskey,
smokes cigarettes,
in his basement,
slowly
records himself.
Well, he starts definitely doing that more once
once the experiment starts going,
chimp
kind
gets
of
killed and stuff, and it goes all kind of downhill from there.
Right, because he does the recordings in his basement, which slowly through the movie, as things go off the rails more, he gets more disheveled. Like he starts normal,
oh god,
and then his shirt gets slowly more
There's a
unbuttoned
scene.
until eventually he's just like shirtless and manic. It's like his clothing represent his like stability.
Dude, the shot choice for this, because I had this one of the only ones I have written down in all caps. I don't know if it's a 3-minute dialogue scene or a 2-minute dialogue scene where Pierce Brosnan is literally, his head's tilted all the way back, like all the way back, and he's just talking. And I was like, oh, that's a weird one. And then it just keeps on going. I'm like, what is going on? And then he just keeps on talking. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, this is
choices.
He just has the it's just this the whole time, and it makes no. I don't know. I was laughing so hard because I'm like, this makes no sense. Like he's just so drunk.
Exasperated. Drunk. I mean, there's one part where he starts an audio recording, which is going, Jesus, and then he starts talking about. Like and there's a whole before that this is a good like 90s like VR line. God damn it, Carolyn, never unplug a program when I'm engaged. You just ruined the whole effect. This is when he's just like in his floaty chair, presumably in VR, just floating through. I don't know,
she's
90s
like, what do you
screensaver,
like floating, falling.
Yeah.
She's mad.
What next?
She's like, don't you remember you were supposed to take me to the city? Oh, I forgot. Why didn't you say something? I shouldn't have to say something. It's like,
and I did.
What the like? Is our whole relationship is
sorry.
just bizarre.
He's like, I'm sorry. Then they make up, and then so in the theatrical cut, she's like, I'm going into the city or something like that. She's like, I'm going away.
Yeah, she's basically just gone,
and then gone.
And
never see her again.
She's just like. Oh my God. So we don't get the Betty Homemaker and then the revolver and none of that.
None of it.
Nope.
Wow. Everybody really, really got shafted in the theaters because that.
Right. That's why I don't want to miss that
amazing.
either.
I don't exactly like that. Is those scenes were so small that I felt like those could have been kept in very easily, like her scenes and stuff. And I thought those were pretty fun and interesting.
Totally.
But then it also does make it a little bit more like he is so at the end of the movie with the neighbor, the woman there.
Oh, Carla
and the kid.
And Peter,
like I don't know, it makes it makes the transition to them being together like a thing a lot more jarring than like maybe in the theatrical cut, because the girlfriend, mysterious woman, goes away so soon.
Terrible. Yeah, that's
because
true.
in the director's cut they say it's his wife.
Yes, this is clearly this man's wife. Who I'm like, oh man, we wrote her in as a wife. How do we get rid of her? Oh, that's right. Let's have her just mind manipulated and then shooting a bunch of people with Uzis.
Yeah, and she's shot by these goons.
Yeah. I felt terrible for Carla's character in this movie for the fact of like her husband is terrible. Like the first introduction that you get of that entire family is Dr. Angel looking through his window into his neighbor's property and just watching the dad beating the ever-loving hell out of, I think, both Carla and Peter. And then, like, nothing happens after that. He just, like, looks through the window and goes,
neighbor's beating his kids again. It's like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Almost, it's very matter of fact.
Like,
yeah. And you're like, oh, okay. I'm like, what do you mean, okay? What? And then, shortly after too, doesn't, like, the dad get home early and then he, like, almost hits Peter's bicycle and then starts, like, slapping him around in
like, get the hell back over
three other
here.
adults.
Oh, yeah. That's what Peter comes over to be like, I want to play games in your basement, Dr. Lawrence.
Yeah. I don't want to be home.
Yeah. And then he gets called back and just starts getting like beat in public. It's wild.
It's so weird. I think one of the only weird things too with Carla's character too is that, like, obviously there's so many hostile men around here at all times, is that even at the end of this movie where, like, Dr. Angel is supposed to be like this savior character, is just screaming in her face, like, give me your cock case. Give me your cock case. I was like, oh my God, please. Like, you know the history with this woman. You can kind of calm down a little bit and kind of explain yourself. You're a doctor.
Yeah.
Well, he's like a computer doctor.
Yeah. Computer doctor. So, I mean, I think one of I have another note in here about Job's hair is crazy. So we kind of mentioned it. He has pre-smart hair and post-smart hair.
Yep.
Where it gets nicely moosed and coiffed up. I mean, I love, it's not bad, I guess, if your gardener looks like that and wants to, do his hair up before he mows your lawn shirtless.
Totally. Well, I think that's the good stage. When they surpass that and he's on your balcony staring at his lawnmower while it's cutting the grass by itself, that's when you're like, you know what? I can do it myself now.
It goes kind of starts leaning back towards pre-smart. It's like a combination of the two, pre-smart and smart hair.
Yes, exactly. We need the Cybo cut of lawn service.
Yeah, but I mean, Job in general, I think you mentioned it before, is kind of like coerced into becoming smarter. Like, just very like, Lawrence is all predatory. Like, hey, you'd like to do this, wouldn't you? You'd like to be smart, wouldn't you? All that kind of stuff.
Yes. I mean, like, the dialogue of that basically was like, God, if I could only just find the perfect subject to test things on, as he's staring at Job, like fucking mowing his yard, where he's like,
Well, I do think I don't think Dr. Angelo does wish any harm upon him afterwards. Agreed. I think he wanted a test subject, but I think he does care about Job.
I think it's both. Yep. Just like the chimp, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he cares
totally.
about the chimp,
and I think with
too. But he also wants to
he loved the chimp.
Find out what he wants to find out. He's always thought that telekinesis and telepathy were possible, but it had no idea that he could unlock them like this. And some other such nonsense. Now, whatever bit that was, I did like that.
Lawrence Angelo, or Pierce Brosnan in this movie, plays the best Hugh Grant I've ever seen. Like, there's a lot of scenes in this movie where, like, he's kind of just over-explaining him. So, I don't know. His mannerisms in the beginning of this movie were so Hugh Grant, but I'm like, God, this is so weird to watch. Because I'm used to Pierce as, like, a very predominant, like I don't know, he plays a lot of, like, not macho men, but very suave men. And this one, he's, like, very, like, neurotic, I feel.
When he's wearing his, like, shorts and boots with tall socks and sweater or whatever in the basement, I'm like, God damn, what a terrible dresser.
So weird looking.
It was the 90s, man.
Just horrible.
But I don't, I don't see it, but that's cool. I think of Hugh Grant as being like, oh, geez, gosh, I don't know,
gosh,
could I possibly be this charming?
Do this
maybe.
I agree. I got a weird, I don't know, nerdy suaveness because it's still Pierce Brosnan, so he looks good. He's got some great hair.
Always looks good.
Acting was not good in this.
I thought it was on par with everything that was going on. I mean,
sure, but I mean, Pierce Brosnan, I guess I've never thought about it before. But I was like, damn, does he suck, or is it just this movie?
I mean, if you want to talk about acting, our director probably had some of the best. The big face on the screen. He had some pretty good acting. Yes. He was cheesing it up, I felt like.
That's Hank from the show
Bad?
with the crystal meth.
Yeah.
Which is funny because he's such like a tough guy in Breaking Bad, and in this he's like almost has a snobby British sort of yes voice to him. Speaking of the acting though, Dr. Angelo's spasms when he's trying to keep Job out of his head at the end of the movie, his face spasms, where I was dying laughing.
That was great.
His impression of a turtle in these movies is just so good. The anguish, fear. I think it's when he pushes his fingers into his eye sockets on either side and is just going, Job, stop. Please, Job, stop.
How is he blocking Job's thoughts? Like, how does he know to do this?
He's a doctor.
It's so Job is so easily able to penetrate other people's minds. But Pierce Brosnan knows how to block them by I guess if you
I
push
guess it's
real
by
hard,
like sheer
on your face.
just push your pressure points so hard that you're blind with pain and you're not thinking about anything. I don't know, man. Like his, I think they were trying to allude to the fact that like there's intelligence plays a role in that. I think where it's like because Angelo's so smart that it takes longer for Job to break into his mind versus like simple people.
Well, he's not trying to like. He's actively fighting against it. So how is he doing that? What
is the process? Yeah, because he
has to know how to do that. Right? He has to know how to fight it,
and he does it more than once.
You haven't seen the Cyber God director's cut of this film?
When it was still called
Cyber God? There's an extra 40 minutes of him just Jedi mind training.
You want
the
to see
entire
the 3-hour version?
Yeah, that's what he's doing in like the side time when you're not. When he's going to and from work, he's listening to books on tape about how to block potential
psychic attacks.
Yeah, should I?
He's
be
also
in the novelization.
It's in the novel. It's in the graphic novel.
The original.
That's actually the other thing that they actually carried over. Yeah, it could have been shit.
Okay, so we're getting close to this. Can we talk about the dematerialization of some of these, like the baddies?
The discombobulation.
Oh my god! And like I looked at these, like they all turn it, like they all break down into these like spheres, and then they start like jumbling around, which I took as, I guess, like the '90s way of like breaking them down to their atoms.
Yeah,
and then sloshing them around. But these are the size of. Oh my god, dude! They're all the size of like pinballs, like a pinball machine.
Sure.
So it's they're fucking huge, and they're just rotating everywhere. So it's just like, oh, you just made him into like a circle man, like if a ball pit one guy became sentient and walked out of a fucking
dissipate, right? And he seemed to like turn them into balls, and then they go away.
Well,
but
first
Tim's
one he
turns into like a Psycho Gorman really like art piece.
Oh, perpetual.
And then he had Tim's was the one that. No, or was it? No, I think it was a random baddie who had the weird swirly thing in his stomach.
That was a random baddie, yeah.
That
was one of
that was the guys outside of the house.
In the van.
Right.
Yeah.
Which that whole scene was definitely extended.
Oh my god,
it's just two guys with guns who get discombobulated real quick in the theatrical version.
Yeah, so in the theatrical version, like how, or in the director's cut, it's his wife is still there. She's been like mind fucked with by Job. To become housewife or whatever. She opens the door with an Uzi, but this is also okay. So the other thing,
she has a pistol.
Whatever. She has a gun, right? And
there you go.
Her vision is being like broadcasted to
the VR set that he's tied to the basement
that Lawrence is hooked up to, that Job is making him watch. But that's not none of that's like clear. That's the vision that he's seeing in the theatrical cut. So the part all you see in the theatrical cut is just like the pull up of the van and then like Job's head appearing outside and taking care of the two van guys, as opposed to his wife getting shot up and murdered. So there's some of your blood.
You think it right? You think it's from the big golden Job head is how you're seeing it in the theatrical version, or at least that's what I guessed it was,
dude. And that's actually a big plot hole that I noticed, is that when Angelo's tied in the basement, he sees the entire VR crate, which I thought was hilarious because like things are literally like cubistic, and then like they overlaid actual shots of people inside of the CGI, inside of the virtual reality.
At this point, I think it's augmented
reality.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So weird.
He's not in a virtual environment. He's looking at reality with augmentation.
Yeah. So she gets shot down, right? And then like in a blood, I mean, like when she gets shot, I mean, like it's an Uzi, like she's riddled with bullet holes in the front, right? So he's calling out to Peter, and there's a scene where he's running up to the house as he's saying that, like he's like, Peter, help me. He gets to the front door where moments before, literally a woman got gunned down, and there is no mention of that body whatsoever. She just like dematerializes. Like, he doesn't even, like, acknowledge that there's a body in the front doorway as this, like, 10-year-old is running through the
I
house.
thought about that too. Like, the fact that, he would have had to have crossed her body and
ran by his dead wife.
Yeah.
And like,
Yes.
Nah, it's fine.
None of
I
that.
mean, we're done with her now. Lawrence
But,
has got a new
I guess
family.
But I guess it makes sense when you're dealing with, like, a godhead character. Literally in this scene, he turns into a giant godhead.
Cyber Christ.
But, like, Cyber Christ. Hey, everybody.
His voice
I'm
changes
Cyber
as well
Christ.
when he gets smarter and everything. So
He does.
oh yeah, because he's got the way he says Dr. Angelo in the first like half of the movie is so funny to me. He says it a lot too.
yeah,
He's like, oh, I don't know, Dr. Angelo. It's bad.
And then it just switches, like, hello, Dr. Angelo.
it becomes
okay.
much deeper. It sounds almost like
hey.
voiceover, like dubbed, like they added something to it. Definitely towards the
Yes.
end. Yeah, once we get further and further
Oh yeah.
down the road. I was thinking, I think it was on the second watch, or at one point, we get the psychic abilities obviously becoming much more presented. So that's,
Yes.
I was like, oh, that's definitely why Dr. Angelo was dreaming, had the monkey dream. It was actually a psychic projection, and then that tracks to what actually can happen with
Yes.
this setup. So, I mean, we haven't even touched on the fact that it's like, we've mentioned like the AR or the AI said it was mainly VR, but there's a whole nother factor that is
There's
this drug
all
compound.
the drugs.
Yes.
Yeah, that he's going
Right.
to get injected to.
So my big question was, do you think if the Project 5, the aggressive drug was never introduced into Job, he would have gone full Godhead the way he did?
Yes, I think it would have gone like peaceful Messiah Godhead instead of like militant. He would have been more New Testament than Old Testament.
Sure.
The more I think about it, the more I don't know, because we think that monkey would have been fine. Like if it thought something, it was a threat, it would kill something. But like, it's not like it was gone mad with rage. You know, it befriended Job.
Yeah, no, but they were pumped with the same drug, and the same drug causes psychotic breaks, basically. So that's like kind of what happened with the chimpanzee, and then that's what started happening with Job. Is that once they implemented that like new programming, which was specifically to like enrage them, and like
Right, but that's what I'm saying. It didn't enrage him.
Enrage who? The monkey?
Right.
Well, right, but I think what our big key difference is the human aspect, because I think the reason, one of the reasons Job starts going Godhead mode is because of the religious shit that he's gone through with Father what's his name beating the shit out of him and putting that there is a lot of like, especially with the director's cut, again, a lot of like religion versus science and the combining and the confliction, especially when you look back at the beginning of the film where, I mean, like what is his name, Father McKean, it's during the whole Cybo-Man shit, is like it's directly, there's like, you see religion and science colliding as like
fighting each
metaphor on screen right there. So I think some of that comes into play. And I mean, you look at, I don't know, I think this movie got me thinking a lot more than I thought it would.
Oh, totally. Well, I think when you present creature, like whenever you have this archetype of rapidly gaining intelligence, and by rapidly gaining intelligence, you start losing your humanity because of like, I don't know, like critical thinking and like failure and a bunch of other things, like the things that make us human, those things start getting shredded away. Is that like, it's, I think without the rage stuff that was implemented by the shop for Job, he would have maybe been more of like a Dr. Manhattan. Like it would have been more indifferent to it because he's now evolved beyond those base emotions, versus having the Project 5 rage stuff put in. Now he's like vengeful and he's angry, and now that he has this power, now he can smite. Just because he's like based off of this religious background. I mean, like you see it like when he, because Job goes like full ham, like when because he does like 4 vials of the
fucking red juice,
the drug into his neck, And then he like keeps on downloading stuff. Because I mean, before that, I mean, he's literally learning hundreds of hours of material in minutes.
It's like the Matrix.
And like he's gaining this knowledge, but then it's at that point where he's taking the rest of the growth stuff that he does his entire murder spree. Because it starts with the father. What's the father? The gas attendant, the dad. Yeah, so it's the priest, like the priest first, because the priest, and then he goes to the gas station, and then he does the father. The
father of
parent,
Peter,
right?
yes.
Yeah, father of Peter. Yeah,
so let's talk about the priest on fire real quick.
Great. Awesome.
100%.
Incredible. I mean,
digital fire at its
digital fire.
Like, so good.
Amazing.
The setting of the scene with Job
beautiful
up
shot
above him and in the darkness and talking down to him.
Judgment.
The look of it.
Backlit.
And then before he kind of powers up before he sets him on fire with his brain and his suit goes all Tron-y and neon.
Awesome.
And then some of the worst graphics I've ever seen to set this priest on fire digitally.
But not like
primo.
But not like it's trying to be like
bad.
real fire though. It's like purposely trying to be digital fire.
Digital fire,
right?
Which
is to let you know it looks like what it looks like in the virtual simulation. Which is not good.
It made me think of like, oh man, I don't know. It made me think of like reverse jet fuel, and the fact of like, I was trying to think of it as like if the digital world was manifested into reality, like that's what that would look like, versus like when you have like jet fuel or what's the one that burns clear, like it's invisible unless all the lights are off, and then like it was like blue. It's not it's some kind of jet fuel. It's magic fire. No, it's like some kind of jet fuel, but it's like basically like if the lights are on or stuff like that, it just, you look at someone, they're running around, it just looks like they're pantomiming, but then when you turn all the lights off, it's literally
you watch.
Oh, dude, all kinds of weird shit. All kinds of weird shit.
Man on Invisible Fire.
Invisible Fire. Look it up. Talk about it in our Discord. No, but I don't know. It was so, it was off-putting, but it didn't fucking freak me out though. As in like, I was like, oh, cool, digital fire. This is hilarious. I would have loved to have seen digital pixelated like ash. You know, like he would just combust and then go.
That's too much to do at the time. That would take.
Oh my god, that would have cost $300,000 for 30 seconds of digital ashes after this.
They had to spin it all on the swarm, or our fucking brain mowing. Brain mowing comes next. Swarm,
whoa, dude, yes.
Wherever we want to go,
where are we going?
Brain mow real quick is Jake.
Yeah,
gets wired up by like the gas station.
Lawnmower mouth brain.
Another really nice shot of Job like standing in the fucking shadows, backlit by the moonlight.
Yes,
chilling with his lawnmower.
Mm-hmm. So good. And then so good.
Wraps up Jake in some gas lines, and then we get the
with
fucking.
His mind.
With his mind, and then we get the fucking beautiful shot of a very again digital brain, and then digital Job with the fucking
lower jaws like missing, and it's just the lawnmower blades.
Yeah, and it munches on his brain forever,
and presumably just makes him
he turns him into like. Yeah, I don't know. It seemed like he turned him into the Lawnmower Man, as in like he just is hey, now you're the idiot, and he basically just killed. Yeah,
in the Cyber God director cut, we see him again, and he has long, not smart hair, just to really hammer it home.
Right? He's got overalls on now.
Lawnmower Man's in your head now, Jake.
Yeah, yes.
That's his little line. Okay. So there we get another Lawnmower Man said in the movie.
A nod to it. Okay, I know you literally just brought it up. I feel when they had Job in that silhouetted scene at the gas station, I think they had him by himself, and then the director's like, something's missing. What's missing? You know what? Let's bring out bring out the big lawnmower next to it. Big Red, and just park Big Red right next to him.
God, I mean,
because he's probably going to want to gas up too. I mean, yeah, and he's going to a gas station. He's like, I'm going to murder this guy.
To be confused.
Exactly. Wait, who is this? What movie am I watching again?
Who is this guy with smart hair standing over there?
with medium hair.
That's not my
super
lawnmower
smart
man.
hair. That's right, because when you get to super smart, it's like Einstein hair. That's probably what they were thinking.
Oh,
Probably.
yeah.
It becomes another level, and then we get Peter Father
abusive
death.
dad.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
And this one's
Wow.
kind of like it's not 100%, but it does have nods to the Stephen King short story for this particular kill. But oh my god, this goddamn kill.
Was this greatly extended in the director's cut, or was I just not paying that much attention in the theatrical?
I couldn't tell you. It feels like it was longer.
It
but
feels like it's longer.
It feels a lot longer, especially in the house with it coming after
just
him.
coming at him so many different times of him
Dude.
standing on different parts of furniture.
It's a lawnmower version of The Floor is Lava. Like, he's jumping from everything on his fucking living room while this thing is just mowing and trying to
Eating it
bump
all
into
up.
him.
Mhm.
So the lawnmower, he's just watching TV or whatever, being a shitbag, and the lawnmower breaks through the front door like he hears it coming, and then it just bursts through on its own, and he's running away from it as it's eating up all his stuff that he's trying to hide behind. Finally runs outside, and it comes flying. Now we have a flying lawnmower.
Oh,
and
it's like
then
mid
right as it's
torso
going to hit
height.
him in like the torso area.
Oh, I thought it was coming right for his head, but yeah, sure.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Doesn't it
Where
make
did you
like
think
a
it was going, Ross?
say what?
So
Like
where did you
mid-torso?
think it-
Okay.
Like mid torso?
You got two torsos and a head.
Yeah, two torsos and a head.
Let us know
Although,
where
doesn't
you
it make
think in
like
the
a squish
Discord.
sound? Doesn't it like? Doesn't it cut
could,
go
like
like?
a little
Yeah,
like a-
I don't recall. I'm very
It
sure
might.
because you don't see it hit. You don't see that kill actually happen.
No.
Right.
And he is
I-
also watching wrestling in there, and there is a fun little part where it gets a shot to the screen real quick of a wrestler saying, "You're gonna die."
You're
Yeah.
gonna die.
And then-
Yes, and he just runs out.
And that's the next morning. Dr. Angelo sees all the cops there and runs over because he's really concerned about his neighbors. But that's when we get the line about the piece being in the bathtub. And also this dumb cop
The
is
bird
just
bath.
like prattling on about all the crazy things happening around
Oh
town.
my
Like,
god, the introduction
are
to
there any other
him.
crimes you'd like to know about?
Oh, but the
And then
first
he's like, but you know what? It's work to investigate a murder, so we're just going to call him accidental.
Well, no, he gets
well, they get
mind
mind warped at the
Does
end.
he? Oh.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I like how it
Yeah.
starts with him just standing there to himself saying, "Hell of a thing. Hell of a thing." Just like to no one. And then Dr. Angelo comes up, all that, and then he's like starts like diarrhea mouthing about like everything that's going on in the
It's like a
fucking
murder,
town and all
it's
this shit.
definitely a murder.
And then Job is like standing in his fucking cyber outfit, just staring at them, and he minds the two cops that are there. And that's what they like stare off for a second. They're like, "Well, we'll just chalk it up to an accident." And then yeah, that's what happens.
That's right,
Wait,
because
you
they
look-
see him over on the balcony. Like,
Yes.
it's our first daytime Job in cyber
Yes.
outfit. We're
Yes.
like, oh, okay.
It's
and then Angelo like
it's our
looks
ghost
at him and
face
goes
in
like,
the daytime.
Yes.
Yeah, very much so.
I love Angelo's fucking dialogue in this too, where he's like, "An accident? You literally just said it was a murder." He goes, "Well, accidents happen."
I feel like maybe at this point too is when Lawrence maybe like blocks Job from his mind or understands it. Like, I don't know. Again, it just mind blocking. How does that work? That's gonna just be that's my big question
Get
of the
your
movie.
doctorate and
Then
find
I'll
out.
find out. You get handed the
Yeah.
key to mind blocking with your diploma. Your
Well, it's
doctorate degree.
One of the classes you take. All doctors, no matter what you're majoring in.
Okay, so here's where we're gonna get to our digital bees or whatever. But I do like the scene sets up with the guards at the shack, and we have a nice guard just says, "So I told him to come down here and pick me up after work." Is how the scene starts. Just like I feel like they just told guards have some little guard banter real quick.
Yeah, just say something. I wonder if that was improv.
And that's in the theatrical cut too. So
So
Okay.
for a while, it's just like if there wasn't some sort of like humming, buzzing sound, you wouldn't be quite sure what it is because they're around they go past them and come back, I think, before we see that they're hornets. It's just like,
Yeah, well, it's weird. So
I
like,
guess that must be a swarm of bugs that's flying around right now. Is kind of
it's so weird
the
how they set it up
impression the
though,
audience gets.
because like they have like Job basically like mind freaks Terry into like waking up and driving to pick him up. They get into his truck, they're driving, and then he looks at a stuffed animal of a bee on the dash and then all of a sudden you get that like buzz, 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 and you're just like, what the fuck is that? Until you get to the gate, you realize,
I don't know, swarm them.
Be good.
But they don't explain it. So by the time you get to the gate that has 1,000 guards, it's just this
about 20.
cacophony of digital fucking. I mean, well, they start off with 3. Yeah, it's not. No. It's no RRR, but it's definitely more than 3. That like you're like when we leave our guards last.
Somewhere between 3 and 1,000.
There we go.
That sounds good. And so these weird bug hornet computer bee thingies, the guards are just like and drop all their guns and run away. Like they shoot at it for a minute, but when Dr. Angelo comes up, he gets dropped off by the neighbor and son, and he's like, all right, I'm going in. And as he's running in, he kind of stops and he looks around and there's just guns everywhere. And he just picks one up that's leaning against the fence and he kind of looks like, in with it.
This'll do. Like,
he's like, but I have my choice of all this gun area, I guess.
And doesn't he only use that gun to like shoot open a door? I don't think he uses it anytime else.
It. He hates guns. Actually,
he also mysteriously has a bag of C4 that he goes around.
He got that from
the van.
The van that rolls up to kill him and ends up killing his wife.
Yeah,
he goes into the van, opens up a crate. I think that says explosives or something ridiculous on it. And that's how
he was trying to find a car to use.
And he sets all the timers on the way in instead of on his way out. So they like the ones closest to the entrance would be the ones exploding as he's trying to get out. Like, hopefully he gives himself enough time. I guess it's just bad order of operations.
Although he hates you. I mean, dude, Angelo hates using guns. What was it? The Virginia when he's in Virginia,
weapons.
And then he's at the fucking hotel. And then he knocks the dude out and he makes the waiter hold the Uzi to him.
What should I do now? Cover him. And then the waiter seems to take it very seriously.
He's like, okay, this sounds good. I'd be like, what the fuck?
That was great.
There's a thing later
excellent
when
customer service.
I think when after the wife shoots and the shop is finding out about it, Tim's is like, oh, it can't be. He despises weapons. There wouldn't be a gun there. So yeah, he does only use it to open a door, which is pretty great. And then we get the big showdown with Job in the cyber god virtual reality.
Cyber god.
Yeah. This is when we go full cyber, and it's
he turns into pure energy, and by doing that, he turns into a California raisin and dehydrates himself into the internet. The scene where his body collapses in on itself like a fucking Capri Sun is so
I thought
fucking
the suit was
ridiculous.
Gonna be empty, and then I was like, "Wait, he's running over there and he takes the helmet off, and it's
it's a fucking husk.
raisin version of his." Yeah,
that's smiling.
It's even
I like the fact
dusty,
that they chose.
It's very dusty feeling, decrepit
Super
and dusty.
mummy dust.
Mummy dusted.
Yeah, for sure. That boy got mummy dusted.
So the cyber battle. So he's fully integrated, and now his goal is to. Because another big thing, 1992, the internet isn't really a huge big thing.
No, a lot of people haven't been on it.
Exactly. He's just trying to escape the centralized mainframe and get onto other mainframes.
The worldwide web. Basically,
to some extent, I think he even breaks it down. It's like I need to connect to another computer, and then I'll be able to spread from there to other things like
5,000. He goes, I'm going to go to 5,000 servers, and those 5,000 servers will be another 5,000, and then what was it? His becoming is his
full takeover. His birth cry will be the ring of every phone on the planet simultaneously.
Yeah,
and. So he gets in there and he starts trying to find ports to get out of the system, which funny.
Access denied.
Is in this I don't know, hexagonal sphere where all these different things have to pop in and out.
There's a bunch of drawers that might have a key. I don't know what it is.
It's actually a really
beautiful
good
90s
concept. That's a really good analogy
of what is VR and what does that mean? What is the point of this virtual world? For Job in it now, he doesn't need
if he's controlling the reality in the virtual.
He doesn't need to see any of this.
This even a thing?
Why? It seems to be time has to take place between each push to grab to a different port. Yeah, that's where it gets
Well,
into the funny world of like, this is all just for visual fun.
Well, you're a little computer guy now too, so you have a different perspective on like the functionality of computers than you did before.
True. I always knew it was a little ridiculous, but I think knowing how ridiculous it is now, it's, I don't know, funny.
Sure, totally. I think you have a different
you're right. You're 100% right.
Because didn't Angelo drop a virus into the facility that literally cut the network off from the internet, right? They had that. So that was the huge thing.
That's what he was trying to do. He was trying to close all of those ports that Job was trying to access and gain access to, the outside world.
Freedom.
Which, I mean,
I did think it was funny that all the computer people, whenever they used a keyboard, like hunt and peck, like one finger at a time, they'd go up to it and just poke at it because we didn't know how to
type,
pretend to be good at computers.
Yeah, exactly. How do we? Computers like on like
what do you do with a keyboard? You take one finger and go like that, tap,
just
tap, tap.
Finger pecking. My dad has had a web design company since like literally the early 2000s. That is how that man types. My dad types with two fingers.
There's a generational thing. You can't.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I'm like,
once
you
you
ever
get to a
taught him to
certain
type?
age.
Can't imagine.
But okay, so cyber battle. Why does Lawrence go in just to be like, I'm going to stop you? What's the point of him going in there?
To keep him from escape.
I think stalling him.
C4.
Was Lawrence planning on killing himself, sacrificing himself?
Yes. I think so. I think the point was for him to suit up. He was going to distract Job long enough for the C4 to explode.
And then all went to shit
for him not
when Peter decided to come into the
up.
place. Okay, I guess that makes a little bit more sense of why he went into it then. So it's like if he was going to blow up and escape, I was like, blow it up and escape.
Happening. Especially he got digitally crucified.
Yeah.
Didn't
and it
that was
seemed
Joe's
like it hurt
restraint
him somehow, and like when he'd get knocked around, it seemed like that hurt him too. And you just see the gyro like moving in circles. It's like it doesn't seem like that would hurt.
It hurt too bad. Well, it's weird because they crucify him.
It's like a haptic suit type of deal.
Well, that's what it seems like is that these things can do, and I think he mentioned something about it affecting certain levels. So I have to assume that these suits are somehow hooked up more so to your
your brain
system and your brain.
That's
it's
like Matrix.
Part.
It's like Matrix stuff.
You need to do both.
Yeah.
So it's
because it's like he gets like the cyber god kind of like, because there's a scene where he gets crucified and then Job kind of like reaches into his guts and like starts doing something to his torso, and you can see in the gyroscope like he's like keeling over like stop, Job, stop.
And then just another gyroscope design thing is funny is a lot of the time when like Job, before he even becomes God Job, and he's like floating around and like moving around and all this shit, it's something that seems so jarring about how much it moves for what you're doing and not adding a very like fluid feeling to it. I'm like, gravity still like would have to affect like your sense of
that kind of gyroscope unless you're going super fast.
I feel like
it doesn't release gravity
design somehow.
Around you. Yes.
all the VR scopes are just a little weird, but we'll get there.
we'll get there. No, I agree with you. I like the look of them. I think for the film they look super fucking cool, but like it would be better if they were on like a VR set and like one of those giant hamster ball like treadmills, like the ones you have in VR where you can move left, right, and like it just moves to your motions, but you're still staying still. Like that, I think practically probably would work better than just spinning around, just getting a head rush and then puking.
Yeah, it just seems like excessive spinning. I'm like, it's still gonna like whip you around a little bit. That I feel like that would be disjointing and jarring to the experience.
Well, if it
but if it's really like that much into your
how you feel, and you can feel all these things, and it could make you not feel what's happening in reality.
So then why have it spin so much? Then why have it spin at all?
Well, I mean, it's all nonsense.
Because that doesn't look cool, Bryan.
Well, yeah, which is I think is fun to look at. Again, like when you look at like if you were to look at 50s sci-fi stuff, you're like, oh my god, they thought we'd have flying cars, and look at all the ridiculous technology. This is fun to poke around at.
Could you imagine?
Again, the world of VR is hilarious to me.
No, but could you imagine fucking Dr. Eljo setting up this entire lab and then he just goes like, okay, so I noticed that the VR, we're just sitting down. I was wondering if we could just, I need more spinning.
You guys heard of gyroscopes? Does that help with have you heard of a gyroscope?
Gyroscopes? Does that help with the research? Absolutely not. Actually, it hinders it more than it helps it, but it looks cool. I think we need to like it. It needs to. Dude,
I
just
also
watch
designed
it happen.
these suits.
Can you
they
picture
light
it
up?
on I mean, just picture it on a movie poster.
Like it's gonna look pretty cool.
I mean, think of this gyroscope in an eyeball. Sells itself.
And this room, I think we need it bigger. I want someone to come in here and be like, "This room is big," because that's a line that happens. I think it's Marnie when she comes in to do cyber sex thing, and she's like, "This is a big room" or something ridiculous.
It's a big room. I also like the fact how big it is and how like it's not lighted correctly. Like you would think that like they skipped out on the lighting.
For this like skeezy, not skeezy. This shadow corporation government.
Yeah, the shop. Everything is blue lighting,
concrete,
and shadowy.
Concrete,
brutalism and noir blue lighting.
Yes.
I don't know. It's not the right analogy, but it's like fucking. It made me think of like if Event Horizon was on QVC. Like it seemed so like it was just very like ominous shading, but it wasn't. It didn't look scary. It was just ominous to be ominous, and then they just had two giant gyroscopes.
Well, again, I mean, looking at through like different like scopes. If you look at it through a horror scope, like you would want it to be a little more dreadful, but the sci-fi scope usually is, I don't know. I feel like how to judge it varies a little bit differently between the two genres, because how it plays into, I don't know, the schlockness and the B-ness of it. Yeah. I don't know how.
It was very clean cut.
I don't know what the movie was trying to be so much at the time. At the time, yeah, exactly. Obviously, the director's cut. I mean, the director really wanted to say something about fucking
chimpanzees.
You know what it is well, it seems like the grand point, the finale of the movie, and the realization that Pierce Brosnan's Lawrence's character or Lawrence makes is, or explains to the audience, is that, you know, knowledge without wisdom is bad.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
And I shouldn't smoke. But yeah, and that's
like, you know what? I don't need this anymore.
And that's definitely a good point. So which was also what I was kind of like asking, like what we thought would happen to Job without the introduction of the aggressive chemical. If that point of knowledge without wisdom, like, does that still hit as hard? Or can that still
that's the thing. I think it would have been the same was what I was saying.
Yeah, so. I think there would have been different I really do think there would have been different outcomes. I think that like he would have been more indifferent than vengeful because I think the psychotic break and then like him overdosing on his own medication and stuff like that, I think kind of like amplified his already like psychotic messiah complex behavior to this like grand
I think the
opus.
Psychotic break was, well, yeah, I'd have to watch it again to see even when that gets introduced versus when he's like going into augmented reality and realizing
it's
his
like
powers.
it's like halfway through it, like he's getting intelligent and he's getting the beginnings of like being able to read people's minds and telepathy and telekinesis and stuff like that. And he's in one of these, I think it's just one of these like training programs, and that's when the guy slides in and starts fucking hammering out like the different protocols while he's in the middle of learning.
Because I think what happens is Lawrence is like, here, do this learning subject thing. That's where he puts the little thing on and learns about like a shit ton of human history, like 100 hours or whatever worth, and like the minutes that he does. And that's kind of when he takes one of his first clicks to, we'll call it the godhood levels that he tries to get to. And he's like realizing a little bit more and becomes definitely more intelligent. But I don't know if he's necessarily, angry at that point. And I think that's when Lawrence, because at one point, Lawrence wants to like pull him back from doing so much to try to again instill wisdom, like understanding of like what the importance behind the knowledge, what wisdom is.
He's like, don't you want to read a book? And he's like, why do I need a book when I know everything?
So it's like, but Job still seems to want to continue pushing it further and know more. and then I believe the aggressive agent gets reintroduced. Yes. So he's already on some sort of path. So I don't know.
He's already on that path.
I don't know if it would be as maybe angry perceived. I think it would still lead to maybe some of the same outcomes, but I don't know if he'd be as emotional or as angry, but still the same type of thing.
So the place blows up.
Sorry.
Peter and Dr. Angelo run out, and as they're running, it's blowing out. And I just had to comment on the way the flames look in the building. The late 80s, early 90s flames explosions are my favorite, I think. I loved it.
I like them because like they're not huge flame licks. They're just like walls of fire that move through. Mm-hmm. It's like a little model just
yes, getting the fire lit through it. Because it's like they look like large. It looks like a tiny little flame blown up really big, to take up the size of something. Then presumably Dr. Angelo and the neighbor and son are maybe going to be a family now or something.
Yeah, I don't know the time frame of how much time passes between explosion and then him hanging out in the basement.
I think it's like the next day.
Well,
I think like realistically.
Date, but I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
It's like July 10th or something like that, but I don't know when the events took place. So
because now he's going to take all of his research.
If it's a day, that's hilarious because he's definitely already got that other family moved in.
Oh, yes. They're all down the basement going, gee, we're going to move?
And then next thing you know.
We get a collect call. The world gets a collect call.
All the phones start ringing.
Phone on the planet. Now what?
Credits.
Yeah,
done.
But I mean, when okay, so he did what he wanted to do, and now what is he going to do?
Time to watch the Lawnmower Man 2.
Out now that he's a super god?
I guess we'll find out.
I'm pretty sure L2 Machine Goo is totally different characters in like a brand new Lawnmower Man, right?
I thought it.
I think
it's like a new Doctor and a new Job.
I think you need to play the video game. The video game, it says, if you look at the description, is a direct sequel to this movie.
Oh my god, that's like my revealer idea.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. I'll pull up the description.
I did love on Jeff Fahey's IMDb. His like most known for is the Sega Genesis Lawnmower Man video game is one of the 4, not the Lawnmower Man movie. And that really tickled me pink.
I can't imagine the cross-pollination when this movie came out and then a Sega Genesis game came out, because it's like they're using the same graphics cards. So it's like it's not it's kind of a brilliant idea of having this as a video game.
Genesis would have been way worse than what we saw.
No, for sure. So this says, in a direct sequel to The Lawnmower Man, Job takes over cyberspace, kidnaps the characters from the movie, and imprisons them in his world. Dr. Angelo, in his avatar form, must overcome Job's traps and puzzles to save them. So that's if you want to continue.
So he would have created a bunch of puzzles for Dr. Angelo to solve.
Yes, that's what would have happened.
I wonder what
I cut it, but there was 4 video games.
Oh shit!
From this movie.
Awesome. I wonder what final form Job would be, because I guess he realizes when he's in that chamber that he can't affect the outside world anymore. Except, I guess, the card, like when they were trying to leave and the door's locked, he unlocked it, but he's also connected to that mainframe of the building, I guess. But like he can't really manifest the outside world anymore because he's just energy. But he could cause some real havoc on the internet. I mean, like he could do all kinds of crazy.
How could he do it before, though? I mean, does he need to be in a human body to manifest stuff into the real world?
Yes.
Yeah, he does. Angelo brings that up where he's like, "Oh, you've lost your human body, so you have no effect on the outside world."
After he ascends to cyber form, he tries to disarm the bombs.
Oh, that's right.
Or he wants to disarm the bombs, and Dr. Angelo's like, "You can't do that now because you're in virtual form." So the Lawnmower Man 2 does have Job in it. It doesn't have the same actors, but it has Job. It apparently takes place in a dystopian Los Angeles in the future, where Peter's now a teenager computer hacker. And Living in the subways with a group of runaway teenagers after the events of the first film, Job finds Peter online and asks him to find Benjamin Trace, the founder of virtual reality. And then they do whatever and stuff there. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what Job's plans are, or maybe it explains a little bit more that he's not quite all the way. Who knows? But
I guess there's only one way to find out.
Coming soon.
Lawnmower Man 2.
All right. Well, of the first 6, you guys got anything else?
No, I think we thoroughly
negative.
Yeah, we thoroughly cut that yard.
We cut the fucking grass on this one.
Yeah,
no doubt about it. All right, let's hit that break. All right, now it's time for the next 6 questions that we have. I didn't do anything. It didn't even occur to me to do something fun with the names until
just
right now.
Uh-huh.
Would we survive? What does that mean? I don't know.
What does that mean for this one? Exactly. It's tough.
I don't,
Yes.
Part of what makes it not really horror, I guess, is it's hard to have an answer for that.
That's a good point.
Yeah. I guess, yes, we would survive if we stayed on Job's good side. Once he reaches full godhead, I mean, like, he looks at you weird, you dematerialize. You know what I mean? Like,
right, but like Peter, he almost came back from
he's
being
not
that far gone for
emotion or whatever for Peter.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't think we would have. If this guy was even just our lawnmower guy, our lawn mowing guy, I don't think we would like. And we didn't
Lawnmower Man, please.
Man.
The Lawnmower Guy. That's the movie I watched, right? I actually watched 3 versions of the film.
Oh, wait. Did you watch Lawnmower Person?
I don't think we did ever do anything out of our way to be disrespectful to this person. So I don't think we're making it on his list. Totally. So I think we're fine.
Yeah, absolutely. We're not going to be Jake's. We're going to be Peter's.
Yeah.
Or Terry's even, but not Father Jerkface.
Or Mabel or whatever her name is. Miriam.
Right. Did anything pull you out of the movie? Sure, but it has such a tone, you're never like really into it and then sucked out. You're just kind of always commenting on how ridiculous the movie is.
Good point.
This is a new one. New question. I don't even remember what we replaced it with, but here it is. If this movie were a band, what would its name be? And what is the genre of music?
Oh,
this is definitely...
So I came up with mine while we were going.
Mine is Big Red, and it's techno.
Of course, yeah. I think we're all going to be some form of techno. I don't really know the subgenre as well.
Maybe house. I don't know. Maybe house. Maybe trip hop. I don't know, but I think definitely something around those lines.
Ooh.
I'm going digital goo.
Ooh.
Nice.
And it is whatever the most popular form of electronic music was in 1992.
See,
it's very of the era.
Yeah. I didn't come up with a name because I forgot about this question, but I would imagine it to be very trip hop. Yeah. I think that's a good genre for what it would be, but I'm sorry, I forgot a name.
You could do Priest on Fire or something like that.
Priest on Fire.
But that sounds something more like, then it would be something like
black metal.
I was gonna say like fire starter. I'm a fire starter.
Prodigy. Apparently it was one of the things I cut, but some Prodigy song uses a quote from Lawnmower Man, and quite a few electronic musicians have used quotes from that
sense.
Oh, that reads.
Is there anything about this movie that is unusual for the genre? I don't fucking know. I guess it's sci-fi. We have said it is sci-fi, but like now that I'm with this question, I'm like, what fucking genre? Like,
I guess for a science fiction movie, I guess what would be at this point when the movie was made is the amount of CGI in this movie and how it's presented. I feel is unusual. Where it's like I think some CGI is trying to imitate reality, and in this one it's clearly stylized virtual reality.
That I agree with you, but I think that's because in the 90s we thought virtual reality would be like that and not
real,
more realistic.
Yeah, that's true.
Right, we thought that was pushing the boundaries of what the computers were capable.
Look, we can look like liquid metal mannequins. How cool!
Somebody saw a fucking Capri Sun commercial, and
kidding me?
Like, we can do that.
One of those Capri Sun guys saw Lawnmower Man.
That bag, yeah.
President of Capri, actually Mr. Capri Sun himself.
Mr. Capri.
Whoa. Excuse me, it's Mrs. Capri Sun. It's a woman-owned corporation.
That's true.
You know what? Thank you for checking me there. I appreciate that.
And that's Miss Capri Sun, actually. Excuse me. I said Mrs. It's Miss Capri Sun is an independent businesswoman.
I think really
Carolyn Capri Sun. There it is.
CCS.
Miss Carolyn Capri Sun.
Oh, that's her robes, you know,
all
her towels, everything. CCS,
yeah, for sure.
I think kind of an answer to the unusual for the genre is what is the message of the movie? Because I feel like it probably had a lot that it was trying to say. One of them, a big one you touched on, is like, what is knowledge without wisdom? Which is kind of like a, you know, science or technology without art, in a way, which is kind of what the virtual reality was, a combination of both, because it was art meeting science.
Right.
But yeah, technology bad, religion and science, there's something there.
I don't know if it's necessarily technology bad. I think it's, again, to the line of like, if you don't use all this knowledge we have without wisdom and forethought, that it can be bad, but it's not necessarily bad, because it doesn't end with, it ends with him being like, I'm going to continue this project. Like, he's going to continue it, but he's like, I'm going to do it in the right way with the mindset of like guiding it in through with wisdom. So it's not necessarily bad, it's how you use it, which is like
totally
what the big conversation is today, Bryan, with AI.
Yeah,
like
because the shop not primarily, its only directive was to militarize all to militarize all of the project. You know what I mean? Like, it had nothing to do with intelligence. It's like, how can we make this so it can kill people? You know what I mean? And I think at the end of the film, like, he's like, no, I want to do this to evolve the human race. Like, I realized in Job that, like, he even brought it up, is that like lower IQs, Alzheimer's, things like that, like, he could go into the brain and fix it, if not amplify us to another like level of understanding.
And he's like, but this can even be used to evolve humans, but we can't do it at 100 times the speed. It needs to be slow, but like, you know, we can.
He doesn't want another cyber god on his hands.
Yeah, because now you've got a cyber god. What are you going to do with him?
Yeah,
cyber worship.
Only cyber goths,
church,
please.
Cyber goths.
Well, they don't attend the cyber church. The cyber goths, they worship the cyber devil.
Cyber Satan.
Make it gooier. That's also a new one. That's our last one.
I mean,
how do we make this movie gooier? Tons of ways. All the deaths. Just make that de-atomizing actually like gooey. You could make them sort of like pulled apart. I'm almost thinking like the opening of the original Cube, but in smaller bits, but like where we're seeing their meats and juices and all that stuff. And the lawnmower death showing the lawnmower death. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's the biggest one. Yeah.
I mean, if we're getting fictitious, I would totally have Job integrate and absorb knowledge by sucking the brains out of other people. Instead of like he goes, I've gained all this knowledge. Yeah. All the guards are dead. I took their knowledge.
I mean, I think a good gooierness would be like with again, the brain kill, the brain mower virtual thing.
Yes,
because then you could have Jake, I don't know, like bleeding out his nose or some shit, getting gooey out of his face a little bit from that,
like a spigot
out his eyes,
just out of his nose and his ears and his eyes at the same time.
All the deaths could have used a little bit something more, but
the only gooey bit we got was the cyber sex part, because
virtual
like
goo,
it looked gooey, it sounded gooey.
Yeah,
it did.
Virtual goorality.
Virtual moistness is the worst thing I think I've ever heard in my life.
Virtual moistness.
That's another band.
Yeah, that's actually their band.
That's actually Virtual Girl. Digital Goo's first album is Virtual Moistness.
And that's gonna be on Chuddle Records.
Yep.
Off Chuddle Records. I was gonna say something. I forgot.
Cool. Well, unless you have any other ideas to make it gooier, we can go ahead to the last 6, where the phone rings again across the globe. Sort of jazzed it up there. Villain level 1 through 10. So, who's the real villain?
Oh, good question. For simplicity, let's go with Job.
That makes sense.
I have two numbers for Job. I have pre-assimilation, post-assimilation. You know what I mean?
You have
yes.
You have Cybo Man Job and
yes.
and Cyber God Job.
Yes,
dude. He went from a Cybo Man to a Cyber God.
Dude.
It's like the day I'll never forget the day he turned 13. It was before he was lawnmower boy. That day he became a lawnmower man.
God damn it. Oh man. No, I think honestly Job for me as like on Earth, as in like the physical realm, not virtual reality, he's like an 8 or a 9 for me. Because like
scary.
He's fucking horrifying. Like, dude, like like he's 3 houses away and he stares at you and changes all of your like. Okay, nope, totally an accident.
I put him at level 10 before he goes full cyber. He's got godlike powers. Yes,
literally. Yeah, I'd bump it to a 10. Like he's literally God, and then like you get, but then he gets absorbed into this like gilded cage of virtual reality.
He depowers himself. Yeah,
it drops him to like a 5, 6 for me. I mean, I realize that once he's out of that, he can really fuck up some shit. Like he could probably like financial collapse could happen instantaneous. Well, maybe not in 1992 though. I don't know.
Well, everything's still in there. Yeah, he would still have connection to all that kind of shit. But like, what does
what does he want?
Yeah, exactly. We still don't know what the end goal, what he is doing, and then again, 1992. It can cause a lot of like financial ruin and upset. And technically, he probably could get into government systems and set off nukes and destroy the world. I mean, but he doesn't have the same physical manipulation. So he's trading off your powers. Like you're hoping that you have access to, I guess, nukes.
Yeah.
If you want that ability, but you have that. So I think he's probably still pretty powerful, but he doesn't like pre-cyber god world. He has like matter manipulation, psychic, like brain manipulate. Like it's a lot stronger.
Well, but then his iconography his look as the cyber god in the virtual world, when it's just a skin face on the like cyber body thing. Dope as hell. I love it.
I'll give you that. It's pretty.
I love his physical form. I want to like cosplay in that suit.
That would be amazing.
I'll just put the hair.
I'm the lawnmower man.
Go the hair a little bit more wild and
get the LED suit and then just LEDs. A push mower at a con. That would be the funniest. Red. Yeah,
I saw a funny comment on some website. It was like how the mower was built would be totally like impractical the way that the vents are on it, which would just like go straight up because it would just blow all the exhaust into your face, which would essentially kill you because it was like super like toxic with the exposure that he would have been using it.
Totally. But again,
how'd the lawnmower guy die? That's in Lawnmower Guy.
That's in Lawnmower Guy. Yeah, that's the version I watched.
Lawnmower Guy. Lawnmower dude.
It would have been funny if Bryan and I only watched the theatrical version and you watched the director's cut and we didn't know.
Oh my god!
And we're just like, you keep bringing up shit that we're like,
what the fuck is that about?
Like,
stop talking about the chimpanzee. I really must
have zoned out.
That's what I was kind of hoping would have happened, but also at the same time,
Okay, we know it has a sequel, but does it deserve a sequel? And what's the worst sequel? The worst sequel you could make for this. Does it deserve a sequel? I'm going with for sure.
I think it does. I'd love to see Job's intentions.
Yeah, I want to know what's going to happen next. Now that he's
he seemed to kind of say he wanted to be the new world. This was a new world that he could create, and he was going to be the one to lead us and rule. So whatever that means, that's what he wants to do.
Yeah, he wants to like upload humanity into virtual reality, like because he says it's a new dimension, like it's a physical dimension. So much harder. You'd have to like hibernate for like 100 years and then be like, because doesn't he say like by the year I know he says some weird thing in dialogue. He's like, by the year 2001, everyone's going to be on virtual reality. Yeah, man.
Okay, so I'll see the sequel. What's the worst sequel? I mean, They got to make it. So let's say it's 1994 now. So they've made it like 2 years after the movie. They got to pull it out of the cyber. He comes back into the real world in some like robot form. So it's like we thought we were about to get like
he gets cut off from it. So there's no virtual reality at all in this movie, and he's like powerless.
Exactly.
Oh, God,
but it is still post-apocalyptic, and he had been a god. So it's like him trying to come back. Now does it send him back to not smart hair Job? Or does he retain?
Yeah, I don't know.
Intelligence.
All right, I'm going to try to double up on
I think that'd probably be more angering if it just returned him to not smart Job as a robot. Yeah. He like somehow inhabits a weird robot's body that he constructs because he's still kind of super smart. Maybe a little bit of both.
Or he's losing his intelligence, so he has to make it super fast.
Well. Not smart Job did say that he can fix anything, and he made Big Red.
Right, that's true.
So he just makes he has to make a lawnmower. He makes a lawnmower that he possesses.
That's good. So he's just like a lawnmower. I agree. I might be able to do worse. I thought he would just be uploaded into a Game Boy. So like he's just stuck in a Game Boy, and then it turns into like a buddy film, as in like Job. And then, I don't know, Peter's
kid with Game Boy.
Peter's cousin.
Peter.
Think of like, what's that Savage film? The Wizard. Yeah, the Wizard. Oh. Just think of like the Wizard, but you have Job in there trying to help out along.
Interesting. Okay.
Probably could be like the worst sequel I could think of.
I think the worst sequel I can think of is that they pick up the phone. Everybody over the world picks up the phone. And then he zaps everybody that picked up a phone dead, which is a cool start. But then the rest of the movie is the survivors just trying to figure out what happened. And we don't really hear from Job again. And it ends with all the phones all over the world ringing again. And it cuts.
Just called again. Oh my God.
So just 2 calls all over the world. Only one we see what happens after. And no Lawnmower Man.
Okay, I can take that. Lawnmower Man 2. What happened?
Lawnmower who?
Lawnmower who?
Okay. Would you buy the soundtrack or score on vinyl? I don't recall.
Either do I.
Really wasn't
whatsoever.
So it's gonna be a no. No. If we can make one up of just insane 90s early techno, would be hilarious. And then yes,
right. But did it even have that in the movie, or it just has that
it had
feel
like
to
a
it? So
generic like rock song at one point during some sort of montage. I think when he was shooting up all the aggressive stuff.
Yeah,
it was playing something. But yeah, no thanks.
Anything action figure worthy? Totally.
Cyber Joe, both. I mean, the Cyber God, and then also tracksuit or whatever.
But the playset is a gyroscope, so you can put either one of them in and just spin it around.
I feel like there were toys for this movie. There had to have been, right?
Cybo-Man, I would take.
Ooh, good
monkey,
call.
The Robo Monkey. Yeah, I think that about does it. Maybe all 3 Jobs, where you have Not Smart Hair Joe. Or 4 Jobs, I think. Not Smart Hair Joe, Smart Hair with a like slick outfit, then him in the Tron outfit, then ultimate form.
Take it. I'll take
Cyber
it.
God.
Don't look up Lawnmower Man action figures.
Why?
It's just a bunch of guys mowing their yards. There's no lawn. It's just
it sure is.
What merch or prop would you want from the film?
I mean,
it's like a gyroscope.
Sure,
Big Red would be hilarious to have.
Oh, yeah.
I would do
that little sex chair. I mean, floating, falling chair, whatever it is.
That one would be good. The belly down chair,
the flying one when you're on the belly. I don't know. That didn't look comfortable. When I was
Job looked like he was falling all off
it.
They were like about to, again, that gets to like, I feel like all the movements that they made, the virtual reality movements were so exaggerated with all the different machines they had.
Yeah.
Especially those and the gyroscopes. Okay.
Virtual reality was the future. Forgot about that brief moment in time.
Right.
Early 90s.
Gotta love it.
What would you do at the midnight showing?
This one was hard for me. The first idea I had was throwing grass clippings at the screen, but the first time you see the lawnmower. But then this thing for me, it should have been chock full of ideas, and I completely ran empty on this. I have no. Although me bringing my own clippings and then throwing them on the screen.
It's better than me. I feel the same way and don't have any. I feel like I wanted to have some moment in the movie early on with Not Smart Job where somebody says something to him and he just kind of looks at him and everybody in the audience is like, But
I thought a close second would be
and maybe some sort of play with a Dr. Angelo voice.
I thought about having like a Cybo Man, as in like if once they say Cybo Man from my comic books, and then everyone just throws dollar comic books at the screen.
Yeah, I don't have anything as well.
Well, dope. This movie seems like, I mean, it does seem like it'd be a great hang,
but like I haven't like
for a midnight showing.
I think we need to be in that environment for it to come out.
You gotta have to be in the moment. How about this, guys, in the Discord or any social media? What would you do during the midnight showing if it stumped the Chuddleman? What would you want to have on a Lawnmower Man screening?
And finally, what are we going to do? We rate movies, of course. That's part of this whole ding-dong we're doing here today.
Sure
tonight,
is.
Whenever, in this episode. So, we rate movies. We got a way of rating movies. It's the Chuddle scale. We got 5 fingers that we cut off. Each finger represents either engaging, sticky, t-shirtable, cockles, or rewatchable. With that said, we're going to start cutting off fingers and see where it lands. And I want to start with Bryan, because he was the one who was very tentative about watching this and seems to have got the most kick out of it. So
I sure did. And I'm having a hard time with this one here. But okay, how many fingers am I going to send off into the cyberverse to get mummified and turned into dust? Engaging. I mean, I was fully engaged. It gets a 1. I watched the theatrical and the director's cut pretty close to each other and was in it to win it, to the point where I was stopping the director's cut to go back to theatrical cut. I was wanting, I was interested. So it gets 1 for
really
engaging.
In it, huh?
Yeah, I was enjoying it. I was having a good time. It was fun.
Good.
So it definitely got a 1. Sticky. This one's tough because, I mean, this movie stuck with me, but the reason it stuck with me is different for the reason that it's sticking with me now. And it certainly posed a lot of questions that I just had fun exploring with how this movie was trying to explore them. I just found it to be an interesting pocket of time. But sticky. I'm going to give it, I'll give it a 1. T-shirtable. Sure. I mean, there's plenty of moments that are
Lawnmower Man.
I totally. I've changed my tune on this one, and I'll one that t-shirtable. Cockles. I think this is where it's going to be a little bit different. I want to say it did rock my cockles, but I don't know if it milked them, and it's going to come back to this and rewatchable, where it's going to be. That's such a fun way to figure out how we've rated movies over here. Oh, well, it rocked my cockles, but it didn't milk them. 0.5. I'll 0.5 that one. And I think same thing with rewatchable. I don't know if I'm going to come back and rewatch this a lot, but I definitely would again and had a fun time with it. If it comes around with there's people around who would want to experience it, I think that would be fun too. But yeah, 0.5 at that. So I think it gives it a 4 overall.
That's good. Probably not what you were expecting.
Nope.
Does that feel right in your heart?
Yeah. Feels good to me. Feels fine.
Cool. Well, normally I like to go last, but I want to save Ross for last and go ahead and jump in here with my fingies. So, engaging. It's going to get a 0.5 there because there are parts where it's like incredibly engaging, but I definitely find both times watching it found myself drifting because there are also parts that are, I find a lot of the shop parts, a lot of the stuff with the shadowy organization pretty dull. Sticky. That is a tough one. Yeah, I'm going to give it a 0.5 for now, being a little charitable. I'm not sure how much of this is going to stick with me. But I guess we'll just find out over time. Come back to that. T-Shirtable is going to get a full one just because it is a fun time and there's a lot of fun imagery from this movie you could put on a shirt.
Sure.
So got to give it up where credit's due. Cockles, that's a tough one. It's going to go back to engaging and get a 0.5. The stuff that I liked, I really liked. But it's not that I really disliked the other stuff, but just kind of boring, like I said, which ultimately makes the rewatchability also a 0.5 because I don't really want to deal with the parts I don't like. Which gives it a 3 out of 5, which is much higher than I expected going in because I've watched it once in my late 20s and was like, God, this sucks. I would have guessed I was going to give it a 1 coming into this.
Right.
That leaves Rossi Poo to let us know how he scores.
Well, all right. So we go for engaging. I'm going to give it's going to be a 1 for engaging. I was fully engaged the entire time. Oh, man. I'm going to have to give 0.5 for sticky. It's weird because I'm definitely on the same tip, Bryan, where like while watching this movie, it was sticky, but I think the concepts are stickier than the content. You know what I mean? Like for me, where like I get very heady on the ideas in this movie presented stuck with me, not necessarily how they were presented, if that makes sense. But like
totally makes sense to me.
T-Shirtable definitely gets a 1 on the t-shirt. Holy crap, there are so many different combinations that you could do. Cockles. It didn't milk them. It didn't do it. It's going to be a 0.5. It's going to be a 0.5 for me. I think that I'm just kind of like reverberating what you guys said. I think that like it's engaging. Like I don't know. It's the cockles were there, but like man, maybe if I watch 1 and 2 back to back, you know what I mean? Maybe I'll get a full cockle out of that. And see the future of Job. Rewatchable. Funny enough that I've said that I've only seen this 3 times and like 3 or maybe 4 times in my life. This is going to get a 1. This is probably not going to get in like heavy rotation, but it's definitely going to get in rotation now.
Nice.
You think now this recent rewatch has boosted it back up to the pile of rotating?
I'll be totally honest with you. It was a 0 when we first started recording. And the more we talked about this, it literally vamped it up to a 1. Because I was like, fuck, man, that's a good point. Man, maybe I should rewatch that. I want to really dive into that.
This conversation also definitely bumped up my enjoyment of the movie. I'm not sure where I would have landed, but I don't think it would be where it is now. That gives you a 4 as well. How does that feel to you?
Because like in my head, like I don't know, in my guts, I'm like it's a 3.5. But if the numbers are like this is where we go with Lawnmower Man. This is the science, and if the science says it's a 4, I'm gonna stick with that 4.
Well, you know, it's an art as well. So we can always adjust that scale as needed. I did it for a year and a half, or however long. But that's great. So that brings us to our final 2 questions for the evening. 1, we got to look at that average score we just created. Is it over 4? Does it get in the Chuddle Club crypt? Let's take a look-a-reno. Well, you know what? We already know we got 2 4s and a 3, so it was not meant to be. It's going to be 3.7, though, which is strong and way higher when we picked. So I really want to do Lawnmower Man because I was like, there's no way we'll do it if it weren't a patron suggestion. And I think we'll have fun talking about it, which we did. And we all liked it, I think, way more than any of us expected to.
Oh,
precisely.
Totally. Yes. Like I thought originally that this movie was just like in our rating system was going to be like just thrown into like a giant burial pit. I'm really surprised it has its own casket. Like it's got a nice. I don't know. It definitely shaped up more than what I thought it was going to be.
Absolutely. No, it's a proper burial, no doubt. All right. Would you rather?
Mine says, would you rather have the ability to enter and control the minds of anyone you meet, just like Job and the Lawnmower Man, but lose all sense of your own identity? Or retain your own individuality, but be forever trapped in a virtual reality world, cut off from the real world and its experiences? Whoa, heavy.
The first one?
What?
So that would be like you lose your own sense of identity, so you don't know who you are, but you're still in the real world.
Yeah, because I couldn't die someday. The other one's forever stuck in virtual reality.
Well, presumably. I mean, virtual reality could die someday.
I would.
That's not infinite.
It says forever.
I do virtual reality because I would just matrix myself.
Yeah.
And then
I do virtual reality too, I think.
And then when I'm bored, I just delete my own programming.
I don't know. Did you see the virtual reality
That's
in that?
nice.
Well, it's
movie?
not necessarily we're trapped in, but we're evolving with it. I mean, virtual reality is going to evolve, isn't it? You're not stuck in that virtual reality. You're just stuck in.
Well, then what? So what if it's a program that if it isn't forever? What if you get shut off right away?
Then it's done. Then I'm not. Then I'm just dead.
It's true. I guess I'd prefer that. I just want to be able to not
Die?
Be around forever. That was my whole reason.
I need.
Well, then
I need some exit route.
But what if you just die right away?
Right.
Then, so.
Well, because I had said the forever thing, and you said, "Well, it doesn't have to be." So then I was rolling with that. Dope. Well, we did that.
All right.
And that's it. Thank you all for listening so much. It's been a great time for us. I hope you had a great time too. You can follow Ross on Instagram at Ross Purvis. That's Purvis with a U because you want his tattoos and goods and service. You can follow me at Chuddle the Sam on Letterboxd if you want to, be friends with me on movies. You can follow the whole podcast at Chuddle the Pod on Instagram or Slasher. You can
Facebook.
get in our Discord
And Facebook
and Facebook now too. Thank you. I should add that to my notes here. And then, of course, all of that is in the show notes. So if you don't want to write this down or look it up right now, just go click around and you'll find it on your phone. That all being said, once again, I'm going to ask if you made it this far, give us a rating, a good one, please. Review in the apps. That does help with discovery. Even more is word of mouth. So be a friend, tell a friend if you like the show. Please help us out. And until next time.
God damn it, Carol. I never unplug a program when I'm engaged. You just ruined the whole effect.